So can we please give a round of applause to Chair Peters, please, and our President Carrie, and James, and Kobe. It was wonderful working with you, and y'all have such a great team. So my team and I are really thankful to be here. And it's great looking around and seeing so many familiar faces and community leaders. So thank you for everything that you all do every day. I have several team members here with me today. So if you're part of the Precinct 4 team, could you please stand up so I can, or raise your hand if you're already standing, some of you. We have approximately 450 Harris County Precinct 4 team members working for y'all every day, all day, so reach out to us at any point. So we have a few slides, and then I know we're gonna do a kind of fireside chat and then open it up for questions, so please keep those questions coming. We have a few slides that we wanted to share just to update y'all on some of the key initiatives. So if you could, please. It's a little hard to see here, but just to level set, as most of you know, Harris County is bigger than 26 states. Every county in Texas is divided into 4 precincts. And here in Harris County, because we're so large, our Precinct 4 is larger than 8 US states. We have approximately over 1.2 million people, and we have 55 parks, 10 community centers. And I love the state of Texas flag, but I'm going to move it so I can see. I'm going to jump ahead, if you don't mind. But anyway, many of you have, thank you so much. Many of you have frequented them, but so many folks, our goal is to get the word out what the county is doing to serve the community. And whether it is senior trips for our senior citizens, if you have any neighbors, if you have family members who may want to take trips with other seniors to build community, whether it's parks, whether it's so many of the events that we do, we invite you. And it has been wonderful to work with the 5 cities that we have in Precinct 4. And the way I think of our role as commissioner is, 1, we get to go so deep in our precinct, which I love the direct constituent services. But the other hat is that I represent you on Commissioner's Court. So 1 of 5 votes for the more macro policy changes that we are having here in Harris County. Next slide. So in terms of supporting businesses, I love that Texas is a place of opportunity. Businesses come to this state every day. And I want them to come to Harris County because we all know that we will continue to thrive in this region. And so I'm going to give a few examples specifically with regard to small businesses. And some of you I was with earlier this morning at HCC, and we were with the SBA and many partnering groups working with small businesses. So very hands-on with different parts of Harris County. Our purchasing department, our Department of Economic Opportunity and Equity was there, flood control district, just folks who want to do business with the county. We're trying to make it more straightforward. But one of the initiatives that we are doing is the Pathways to Prime. And what this does is it gives grants to nonprofits who are working with vendors who are subs, but they want to become primes. So if you're interested in that, please ask us. We're happy to provide more information. And it really gives training on everything from loans to bonds to insurance, capacity building, and beyond. The Opportunity Fund, it's a revolving loan fund. And I want to thank President Biden and VP Harris because it was the federal ARPA dollars that were able to help us seed this revolving loan fund, which is approximately $17 million. And the loans are between $100,000 and $250,000. God bless you. I don't know if that was a sneeze but even if it wasn't, may God bless you anyway. We'll pass around the collection basket momentarily. But so if you know of any business that has 25 or fewer employees, and they're located in Harris County and they were hurt by COVID, they may be eligible for one of these Opportunity Fund revolving loan. So please look into that. Another way is the Harris Hub. This makes me very happy because I used to be a teacher and I have been an adjunct at U of H. So to me, it's the coaching and development and education that we have to be providing. And so Harris Hub is assistance for small businesses. And this is coaching on everything from IT to marketing to legal to finance, and helps with permits, grant applications. So it's a source of education for our small businesses. Next, please. Also, this was one of my favorite votes I have taken in the almost 2 years I have been on Commissioner's Court, was for the Apprenticeship Advantage program, which is almost 14 million. Again, I want to thank the federal government for the ARPA funds. This is the largest investment in apprenticeships in Harris County history. This doubled our capacity in terms of slots for apprenticeships. This allows, whether it is youth leaving high school, whether it's our veterans coming home, it helps people earn a living while they're learning a skill or upskilling. And so I love the apprenticeship program that we have launched. And as long as the people give me the opportunity to serve, I want to work together with all of you to continue building it, because I want to make sure we have the pipeline of talent in all of our different key sectors. And especially, we'll talk later in our kind of fireside chat about the energy transition. But I want to make sure that we not only continue to dominate as the energy capital of the world, but that we are the global leader in the transition, having that both and, but making sure we have the proper workforce and talents. We've been working very closely with our community colleges, with our various sectors and employers, as well as universities, high schools and beyond, labor partners, et cetera. Proposition 2 is one example of what we have done in terms of granting a property tax exemption for child care centers. And so qualifying child care centers can get, for the county portion, a property tax exemption, which then, the hypothesis is then that will help control costs so that families, making it easier for those working parents to get back to work and or stay in work, because I feel very blessed. But even with a good job, childcare was incredibly expensive for me and my husband. Next. Building resilient infrastructure. Thank you, Mackenzie. So I know we all have many stories to tell when it comes to flooding and the myriad of storms that we continue to endure in this region. I'll give you a few bright spots. One is that I'm so thankful to our Texas General Land Office Commissioner, Don Buckingham, who was very fair, very collaborative. Harris County, after many years of waiting and challenges, Harris County is now getting our over $1 billion in CDBG, MIT, and DR, Mitigation and Disaster Recovery Funds, which is game-changing in order to be able to continue delivering our 2018 flood bond projects. And I'm looking at my ALF, my American Leadership Forum brother, Alan, who's heard this story many times, but I have a now 7-year-old. I was super, super pregnant during Harvey. My home, praise God, was not flooded, but all around me, it would have been impossible for me to get to a hospital. And I really thought I was going to have her in the bathtub. Fortunately, she waited. She was born in a hospital safely, thank goodness. However, she's my visible reminder of how long it's been since Harvey, and she just turned 7, and we still have so much work to do in terms of delivering these projects. I know many of you know Dr. Tina Peterson, our Harris County Flood Control District Executive Director, who's fantastic. We talk almost daily. We are making marked progress on these flood bond projects, and we're working incredibly collaboratively with the GLO. In fact, they've embedded themselves in each other's offices so that with now the aggressive timelines, and we have some extensions here and there, but we have to deliver these projects. And so I stay very, very abreast because, especially representing the western part of Harris County, we vividly remember all the challenges we have had and will frankly continue to have. So we are making progress. One example of the progress, we recently delivered $6.1 million of infrastructure improvements to the Westfield Pines and Village subdivision. This was an area heavily impacted by Harvey. And so we have completed that project. There's another one in Cimarron subdivision. If you go to Harris County Flood Control District's website, you can see the progress being made on all of the different projects, as well as Precinct 4. We have, the way I see it is if any project is in Precinct 4, it's a Precinct 4 project, whether it's our Toll Road Authority, Flood Control District, or the Engineering Department. So if you go to our website, you can see all of the different projects, where they are, and we will continue to improve the information that is available on our website. Addicts Watershed Drainage Improvement Projects. There have been various projects completed and ones that are ongoing in terms of the desilting of Addicts, Barker, and additional projects that will continue. Meanwhile, we and Commissioner Ramsey, who is my neighbor of precincts, and he's Precinct 3 and Precinct 4, he and I have put in our own precinct money as well to help with the Buffalo Bayou Tributary Resiliency Study, BBTRS, basically the deep tunnel study. The Army Corps of Engineers is the one who initiated the study, had been funding the study. They wanted to pivot on us, and we didn't want to pivot. We're like, no. So thanks to Congresswoman Fletcher and Congressman Hunt, we were able to work on bipartisan push a legislative fix to keep the attention on BBTRS. Meanwhile, as commissioners, Commissioner Ramsey and I have also, ponied up your taxpayer resources for the precinct, because we need to be not only delivering the immediate progress, whether that is improving in our ditch maintenance, for example, desilting efforts, but then we also need to be working on the midterm and longer term solutions, which I would put the tunnel and obviously the longer term solutions, but it has to be all of the above given the severity of the challenges. Next, please. And on this flood control, I will talk about it in my official capacity in an educational way. One thing that again is this both and that I ask you to please read up on is Proposition A for Harris County Flood Control District. We need, and this was passed 5-0, unanimously, bipartisan way. So we had to pass it so that it would go to the voters, to you to vote on. It's Prop A. What this would do, if y'all pass it, is it would give us maintenance dollars that we need. It came to my attention that Harris County Flood Control District, our maintenance program, unfortunately, since 2000, our assets have doubled. Since 2000, our maintenance funding has remained flat. So we have doubled the assets. We have population growth, which puts greater demand and use on the assets. And the funding has remained flat. We need to both maintain and deliver new projects. And the reason we need to maintain is because we don't want any of our channels to be at risk of failure. We don't want for it not to be mowed as frequently as it should or desilted so that we have the capacity, but then we also have the conveyance so that these assets are working as they should. So these maintenance dollars would help us be able to get better aligned with the maintenance work that we need to do. To be completely frank with you, we're on a 270-year life cycle replacement. Best practice is 50. If passed by the people of Harris County, Prop A would get us to a 67-year maintenance cycle. Well, not cycle, but a lifetime replacement cycle. So that will be a huge step forward in terms of being able to deliver, because we need to make sure our current assets deliver the protection they're intended to while we add additional assets. So that is Prop A. Please educate yourself. Flood control has great resources you can have the engineer's explanation, not the English major lawyers, but the bottom line is it would give us maintenance dollars in an ongoing way so that our assets have the intended purpose and protect our families. So connecting communities. Infrastructure, I see infrastructure as just fundamental to our quality of life and to our safety. So one thing we did when we took office a couple years ago, there were substantial gaps in where sidewalks were and were not. And so this Sidewalks for Precinct 4 is a $20 million investment in sidewalks in unincorporated Precinct 4. And the former teacher in me / mom in me We had a laser focus on areas near schools, near places of worship, near economic centers. Is that?
It's just I'm going to switch your microphone. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Can you all hear me without the mic? Okay.
Yes.
May I please? Thank you.
If you'd like, you have a second one here as an option.
Oh, I'll just project. Thank you. If you can hear me, just feel free to go like that. So I'm very happy because these sidewalks are, many of them are already complete, and most will all be complete by the end of the year. And so I don't have patience for government speed. And so this was one of our Precinct 4 projects that I was most energized by, because we were just able to deliver those sidewalks because our kids deserve to walk to school safely, and our folks who are walking to the grocery store or walking to their church should not have to put their life in danger. Another example are different community centers and community plans. There's so many to go into, but we're doing a Katy East community plan study. We're doing a Northwest transit study. We're doing one around Burnett Bayland, which is in Gulfton, another one around Bayland, which is in the Sharpstown area. We're doing one in the northeast part, which is still really northwest if you look at the whole county. But basically that's the East Spring Branch, Lazy Brook, Timber Grove, Rice Military area of our precinct. And the reason we're doing these community plans is several reasons. Number one, we work for the people, so we want to hear the people's ideas of what they want in their neighborhood. Two, we have to prioritize limited government resources, so we want to have a data-driven approach as to how we're doing these infrastructure investments, and we don't want to be haphazard. We want to be holistic as we're thinking about the improvements we're making. And so it has been great because we're not only looking at it from a safety perspective, but also from a connectivity, from a resiliency. The economic opportunity piece as well has been built into everything we're doing. And then what this does then gives us a prioritized list from the community, from key stakeholders, from business owners, how they want to see the infrastructure improvements prioritized. So that has been great. Next. Health, there's so many examples. Last week, some of you were there. Bayland Community Center is in the Sharpstown area. With the partnership with Baylor College of Medicine, we were able to open a teen clinic. This teen clinic will bring world-class medical care into the community, to the people, and it will be free. Free for our youth ages 13 to 24. And this is everything from vaccinations to preventative visits, to sports physicals, to sick visits, to family planning, to STD screening, just a whole, and they have a lab and a pharmacy in this. This was a building that was locked, full of trash and spiders. And thanks to the initiative of my fabulous Precinct 4 team, we have brought world-class medical care into this space for our community. And stay tuned, because at Bayland, we're making it basically into a health hub. So partnership with Harris Health to have a telemedicine portion. We have food insecurity challenges, so we've partnered with Common Market to be giving food away. Thanks to Harris County Public Health, we have a free dental mobile site that comes once a week and beyond. So we have been creating as many partnerships as possible so that your community spaces, and we're also partnering soon with the Handel Center, so from a workforce development standpoint, and so many other groups have reached out. So I believe there's so much power in partnerships, and if we leverage our respective talents and resources, we can get so much more done. So that's one example. Lactation pods, we partnered with the Houston Bar Association. I used to be a judge, and I could tell you many stories, but the bottom line is the Houston Bar Association partnered with Harris County to give us money for lactation pods, which now we have in our courthouses, and we're looking for additional partners to expand them to other county buildings, because we want to make sure this county works for working parents. And Harris Health Bond, overwhelmingly, it was passed, as you know, by the voters, and so we are making progress. This will help LBJ, Ben Taub, and add 3 new additional community clinics. I believe the final locations have not been released, but one will be in the Northwest, so working closely with Commissioner Ramsey on that, and then one will be in the Southwest. So I'm very excited about those new clinics. Next, justice and safety. I could have you here for many, many hours. There's so many improvements we have driven. Again, as a lawyer and as a former judge, I feel and someone who's been the victim of crime several times, I feel very passionately that public safety is of paramount importance if we want to keep not only recruiting folks to live in Harris County, keep them in Harris County, but recruiting businesses. So many examples. I'll give you a few. We have 6 new criminal district courts. Thanks to the bipartisan effort, we were able to go work with the state leaders and get that done. We had only gotten 1 new criminal district court since 1985 when I was 5 years old. So if you want to talk about reducing court backlog, yes, we had infused ARPA funds for visiting and associate judges, but fundamentally, the population has grown so much, there's a rise in cases, we have to address them because the quality of justice is paramount importance. And we need to, justice delayed is justice denied. We also gave a 7% raise to law enforcement officers and a 12% raise for our detention officers because we have many challenges at our Harris County Jail, and it is hard to recruit and retain that talent. We expanded, it's not up here, the Holistic Assistance Response Team. To me, it's unconscionable that our Harris County Jail is the largest mental health facility in the state of Texas. We don't need it to be. And so we didn't have HEART here in Precinct 4. HEART is basically where trained mental health providers respond to calls that relate to mental health, whether it's crisis, addiction, homelessness. We don't need that individual to go into our jail, go into our court system. We need that person connected with services, and we need to free up our law enforcement officers' time so they can focus on actual violent crime, not on folks who do not belong in the system. We need to help those folks, and we need to make sure we're helping the folks who need the law enforcement officers to show up. Again, all about leveraging time and resources. We also, teledeputy is another example, same thing. We want to reduce the response times for the sheriff's office and all law enforcement agencies to get to the scene of violent crimes. One way to do that is if you're calling because someone left a garage door open or there's an abandoned vehicle, you don't need an officer to go out. So the teledeputy addresses that. So then again, we're better leveraging actual law enforcement officers' time. We also invested $9.25 million for the Violent Persons Warrant Task Force. There are hundreds of folks who have a warrant out. We want to double down and go find those people. And so this is a special task force that does that, and it's been very successful. I also feel very passionately about indigent defense and the quality of indigent defense. So I chair the Indigent Defense Committee with Commissioner Ellis, and we have been working with the Public Defender's Office so we can get the Public Defender's Office to be able to handle at least 50% of the cases in Harris County. Right now, they're like around 15 to 17%. And so again, if we want to leverage your taxpayer dollars, I don't want them to go to private appointed counsel that aren't subject to the same Texas laws about caseload caps. I'd rather it be with someone who's trained at a public defender's office. Meanwhile, we've also invested in the district attorney's office. If we need a justice system that is well balanced and the allocation of resources actually advances justice. And mental health, a lot of it has been focused on mental health because we shouldn't criminalize mental health. We need treatment for mental health. So again, so many examples. Go to our website and you'll see a litany of really exciting progress that has been driven. And please, if you don't follow us on social media, please follow us because every day there's updates on a variety of things and there's so many events that we invite you and your families to. You can sign up for our email newsletter, follow us on social media, call us anytime. We're also those folks who show up right after a tornado or hurricane or derecho or Lord knows what we will have next. And so thank you for your partnership because so many businesses reached out needing help, so many of our communities. So we are there to set up distribution sites, to set up a cooling center or a warming center, depending what the catastrophe of the day might be. And we're there to pick up debris. We were actually the first governmental entity on the ground picking up debris in the whole region, Precinct 4. And so my team, I am so thankful to my team because we have these dedicated public servants who just want to show and deliver that the fact that the government can work and it can work more efficiently. So we have a long, long road ahead of us. And again, I believe the government in partnership with the business community, in partnership with schools, in partnership with our places of worship, it's all of us are in this together. And I know many of you are tired of the division and polarization and dysfunction. And as business leaders, dysfunction isn't helpful, right, in a business, and dysfunction obviously is not helpful in the government. And so I believe, I'm one of those optimists that actually believes more unites us than divides us. So I want to focus on what we do agree on and where we can make progress. And then we can learn from these investments in a data-driven way. And if it works, great, let's build on it. If it doesn't, let's own up, be transparent and pivot and do something differently and do something better, right? But if we learn together as a community and grow together, I believe Harris County will continue to thrive and dominate, not only in Texas, but across the whole United States. So it is an honor to be your commissioner, and I'm happy to start the fireside chat. Planting wildflowers so that we're building back the green infrastructure and the absorption along our channels. And Precinct 4, we actually had the largest number of acres that were seeded with this mix, which is wonderful because we have such a horrible problem in Western Harris County and throughout, but especially in Western Harris County. So that's one example. Sustainable infrastructure, another example, a very different example, is that Harris County led a statewide coalition to apply to receive, and we were successful, the Solar for All grant from the Biden-Harris administration. So we are receiving approximately $250 million. And what that will do is build solar infrastructure in our most vulnerable communities here in Harris County and some of the other partnering counties. And that will, A, reduce energy costs for our most vulnerable residents, B, add some independence from our grid, which we all know we need to fix our grid. And so that is another example of, again, this isn't all of the above, both and. We need to be leaning into wind and solar even more. And we have great leaders in the energy sector who, for the economic reality of where the future is taking us, are really leaning into the both and. So that's another example. The maintenance work that I was telling you, they're really trying to do it in a more sustainable way. The way we've done it in Precinct 4, we've doubled our infrastructure team, number one. Each project we do, we put it through an Envision process. And Envision focuses not only on the equity piece, but on the sustainability and resiliency. So whether it's a sidewalk that we're building, whether that's a neighborhood drainage effort that we're partnering with one of our municipalities on, we put it through the Envision certification so that we are thinking of this resiliency piece as a kind of non-negotiable threshold issue that every project must have. So those are a few examples of how we're thinking. We're also building in, as we do the park improvements, where else can we build in more detention basins, right? So that we have more capacity in these areas, but also creates a beautiful green space. So those are some of the ways we've applied for a lot of. I'm happy to go into more detail, but those are a few of the examples.
Okay. Well, and you covered a little bit of the next question, but there's probably more. We've had some recent climate challenges. What other steps is Harris County taking as a whole for climate resilient infrastructure?
Sure. Well, another vote that I was so proud to make is Harris County passed its first ever climate action plan. And what that is, it's Harris County's own commitment to reducing our own emissions by 40% by 2030. So that's one thing. And that is, we're looking at all of our operations, whether it is transitioning our fleet, whether that is energy efficiency within our county buildings, and we have many of them. So that has been like an inward, let's hold up the mirror, and if we're gonna lead, we need to lead with our own actions. So that's one example. Another is the state of Texas wasn't going to apply for the Solar for All, but Harris County said, nope, we're going to apply, and we're going to bring along other partners and neighbors in Texas, from the border to Travis County to beyond. So I already talked about that, so I'll move along. Another example, I would love y'all's partnership on this. Texas has never availed itself of something called SEFI, State Energy Financing Institution. And essentially it's low interest federal loans that can be used by the for-profit sector as well as government and nonprofit partners for improvements, whether it's technology and current infrastructure or for innovation in energy transition investments. So it has a very broad scope of what we could use these low interest loans. And I love Texas, I'm a proud native Texan. I'm like, why haven't we taken advantage of this? We might all have hypotheses, but the point is that Harris County reached out, and I love Commissioner Buckingham, our GLO commissioner. And so now we're working with the governor's office and in a bipartisan way to say, hey, Texans don't leave money on the table and we want to stay the best. I want to stay the best at everything we do. So this is a new way that we're bringing in resiliency opportunities in a way that we hadn't used this financing structure. So my team and I are looking for things we haven't done before, and then just basic things like, hey, why don't we plant flowers and grass here, right? I mean, it's something very simple and straightforward to how do we improve, whether it's the equipment we're using in the precinct, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So happy to give more examples.
Is that happening countywide?
The SEFI thing?
Yeah.
Well, that will be statewide. It'll kick off depending on how November goes. It'll probably take another 6 to 12 months before we can avail ourselves of these loans, but it'll depend. But I'm optimistic, regardless how it goes in a couple weeks. I really believe Texas needs to be using this lever.
Okay. Economic development, what are your plans to stimulate economic development in the district?
So several things. First of all, we created an economic development manager. We didn't even have a position focused on that. So that was the first thing. 2, we have had over a dozen workshops for businesses, and we invite you to future ones, how to do business with the county, and then other networking kind of, prime sub mentorship type programs. So we've been working closely, and we would love to work closely. We've had chamber summits, because we want to hear the ideas from the experts, how the county can be a partner. So it has been a lot of listening, but also a lot of the kind of teaching. And so getting the purchasing department out into the community, because it is so challenging to be able to do everything you have to do to be able to be eligible to do business with the county. And then we will continue that, whether that's through the apprenticeship investment that we're working on, but it really has been using the power of the government as a convener to get our community college groups together, the chambers together. And so we welcome your ongoing feedback on what the county can do from a stimulation perspective. So.
Okay. You've mentioned something about healthcare in terms of the Teen Health Center. What other ways are y'all working to expand access to the underserved area for health services?
Yes. So we've been working very closely with Harris Health, which is the largest safety net provider, not only in the region, but in the state, and to really amplify their communication and bringing that information into the community, because Harris Health has tremendous resources. We've also been working with our FQHCs in the area. So Hope Clinic is a fabulous example that works in Precinct 4, and I love that they offer services in over 30 languages in the most inclusive, culturally sensitive way. So partnering with them, whether it's an immunization drive or getting into the community, into our community centers. Another way that we've been partnering is with the Harris Center, and I see one of our wonderful leaders here, so thank you so much, because there are various mental health resources. And as a mom of 3 girls and as someone who's been a teacher, just seeing the incidents rise, especially amongst our youth. So how can we, again, triangulate what the county's already doing, but take it more deeply into the school districts, right? Because if we have all the best, not that we have the best programs, but if we have these great programs, but the community doesn't know about it, we're not helping as many folks as we can. So that's another thing. We've also really been taking a deep dive on some of the justice system meets mental health provision of services. So for example, Harris Health will now be fully taking over the jail medical in the Harris County Jail, which I think will lead to better improved outcomes. We've also been investing in jail-based competency restoration. So if you're unfit to stand trial, your trial can't move forward. Rightly so. But can your competency be restored? Yes or no? But if you're waiting for months, sometimes years, to get assessed and then to get restored potentially, that's a problem, and that exacerbates, A, justice is not being delivered for this person, B, they're not getting the treatment they may need, but C, we have a backlog in our court and in our jail. And so it's just these compounding. So we're trying to disentangle where the healthcare piece meets the justice piece, and really trying to partner as much as possible, because there's so much great work being done, but we need to get it out in the community more.
Okay. And you've touched on this on several different answers, but what other partnerships are y'all using? Obviously, you've talked about leveraging people, resources, money, time. What other partnerships do you have going?
Yes, so I am very excited. I'll give you one example that I think encapsulates it. So when we took office, I very much believe in partnerships, but again, that sounds great. What are you going to do about it? So we launched last year, and we have it this year, and we're about to announce the winners, so stay tuned. A proactive call for partnership projects. We invited our cities, our school districts, our MUDs, we have 141 MUDs in Precinct 4, our management districts to submit infrastructure project ideas that they could potentially partner with Precinct 4 on. And we scored them on a criteria of safety, sustainability, resiliency, connectivity, this whole criteria. And we picked last year 32 projects with 20 different partners. Together, we are investing $88 million of Precinct 4 dollars with $82 million of partner dollars. So we will be able to deliver to y'all $170 million of infrastructure improvements, double what we would have been able to do, but for these partnerships. And so when we want to partner on everything. And so this year, and it's every year that the people give me the opportunity to serve, we will have this, it's called Places for People. We always use the number 4 because you have to, right, when you're Precinct 4. Places for People. And so we will be announcing the winners soon for this year's infrastructure projects. And if you have ideas that you may want your city council person to submit next year, or you may work with MUDs or management district, TERSs, et cetera, start getting those ideas ready, because in the spring we'll open up next year's submission. So that's one example. But we've also started all sorts of partnership projects with our school districts, which I love working with because I'm a teacher at heart. With, we've had meetings of the MUDs to get our MUDs together, our chamber events. I mean, I'm all about trying to bring people together because, again, I really believe that when we all work together, there's so much work being done in silos, which is so inefficient. I'm like, we just need each other is the bottom line, and we should do more. So we welcome your ideas on other partnerships, because whether it's a nonprofit group that may want to offer its services in one of our community centers, whether it's a group that may want to use our park spaces, we've been partnering with a lot of nonprofits, whether it's walking groups, senior groups, like just so many different things. Happy to give you more examples, but the bottom line is we're open for business and we're open for partnership.
Very good. And feedback, what's the best way for people to reach your office, provide feedback, ask questions?
Sure. And we have cards that we can pass out, but you can call us at any time, email us. There's a form on our website that you can submit complaints if you see that a ditch needs to be maintained better, or there's a particular intersection that is unsafe, or the light or the sign needs some attention, whatever it is. You have an idea for partnership, you can email us, you can submit it via the website, you can call us, and we are always here. I want to introduce Maida Guillen. She is one of our community engagement coordinators. She focuses a lot on the western part of Precinct 4. So Maida, you will see her a lot. So you can always reach out to her, reach out to me. But again, we have 450 team members who are here to serve you. But I also ask, please follow us on social media, because there's updates all the time, whether in times of disaster or in just fun community activities. And as a working parent, and who's still paying off student loans, it's nice when there's a free community festival that you can take your kids to, and you don't have to, because it's happening. We would love for you to be a part of it.
Very good. And we've got some questions from the group. And again, if you
Let me get some water.
if you have questions written down and we've not picked them up, please raise your hand and someone from the chamber will come by and grab them from you. First question, how are the commissioners helping the nonprofits stay sustainable to continue the work that we do for our communities?
So we have numerous grant programs through Harris County, and it depends what space you're in. So for example, domestic violence, we give grants to a variety of nonprofit groups that are in the community helping survivors. It depends what space you're in. If you'd like to reach out to my office, we can connect you to what the county might be doing in whatever space of nonprofit you might be focused on.
HCTRA to alleviate traffic congestion caused by blocked lanes at the Beltway 8 toll plaza near Westheimer? And what specific measures are being taken to minimize delays for commuters?
Okay, so our toll road authority, HECTRA, as most people call it, we work closely with them and meet with them weekly. Several things. As y'all may know, we are moving to we have a barrier-free, I shouldn't do air quotes, it will finish and it will truly be barrier-free. And in the meantime, it's challenging. But we will be removing all of the toll plazas, and it will all be electronic, and it will be much safer, and it will help with the flow of traffic. As you can imagine, again, Harris County is bigger than 26 states. It's massive, and we have a lot of toll road miles to accomplish. So it's been broken up in 2 segments. I'd be happy to connect you with the leaders at HECTRA who are running that program. And so I'm always like, so when is it going to be finished? And the truth is, it'll be finished in phases. So if you're in a particular area that you want to drill down into the detail, I can get you the detail. Meanwhile, of course, we have our constable partners who help us with the safety of the toll roads. So if there's ever anything of concern, again, feel free to reach out to my office if there's a particular stretch, and I will do my best to get them to prioritize that. So, but in the meantime, one thing that was exciting, and we got a lot of positive feedback, is we as in HECTRA / Commissioners Court approved it, gave a 10% discount on the tolls for regular vehicles, basically. And so, 10% is helpful when, at least my family, we grew up check to check, right? So if you're using the toll roads to get to work every day, something helps, right? Algo es algo. So that's one thing. But we have this wonderful engineer named Roberto Trevino, who's in charge of HECTRA. And so if any of you have other questions about HECTRA, we're happy to connect you.
What's the timeline for the barrier-free? Is there a certain end date that everybody's shooting for?
Yes. Well, my timeline is different than their timeline. What I'm shooting for is yesterday, which is never, I think I drive all the department heads crazy with my impatience, but, my husband's right there along with them, but most of it should be done by 2026, but we can get you the breakdown, because they do have it all, and then they update it if we've encountered some delays, and so we can get you copious amounts of information, but I don't have it all on the top of my head. God bless you.
How do we find the right way to branch out our tree canopy while keeping our electric infrastructure clear of power?
That's a great question. I know Centerpoint is sponsoring the lunch, so they might have their own perspectives to share. So, well, I'm no one to give advice to homeowners. Basically, trim your trees, keep them away from the power lines, right? If it's on private property, it's your private responsibility. In terms of the government piece of it, and I'll tell you what we're doing, because we have almost, at least in many areas of Precinct 4, we have a problem where there's not trees, right? And so we have this huge heat island effect. So there's parts of our precinct, namely in the Gulfton area, but also Sharpstown and parts of Alief, that are 17 degrees hotter than River Oaks, which I'm also very proud to represent. 17 degrees hotter, that is an economic justice issue that affects our health and safety. So, and I'm smiling at my ALF brother Alan, because come join us November 2nd, we are starting, and we will be planting, if you want to enjoy the fall weather and get some exercise, we will be starting our Alief linear forest planting on, and thank you for your leadership, and Barbara Quattro and so many wonderful partners. But again, thanks to the Biden-Harris administration, we were given $6 million for our precinct, and we're investing $2 million in Alief, $2 million in Sharpstown, $2 million in Gulfton. And it will be trees meets lighting meets related safety improvements. And the teacher and me, we used Alief ISD. I love all my ISDs, but Alief ISD in particular is just amazing to work with. We worked with over 500 student artists and picked some of their artwork that will be incorporated into the Alief linear forest. Really excited about that. And so stay tuned. But so the point is, there's some areas that have no trees. And then the areas that do have trees, we need to better maintain them. So if it's in unincorporated Harris County, where we're in charge of taking care of your roads and maintaining your ditches, call us if there's an area of concern. However, if it's on private property, best of luck to you, because we're legally not allowed to help you. But I'm sure our Centerpoint partners have other advice that they'd be happy to share with you.
Let's see, this has a couple of parts maybe. Is there a plan or ongoing plan to address food truck problem on Highway 6?
Yes, so the short answer is depending on what road it is, who has priority on it, right? They need to be on first. That being said, feel free to send us the exact locations of your concerns, and we will try to partner with whoever we need to partner. There's some areas where the city of Houston, we have folks selling food that they have no permits and they should not be selling food, and there's all these other public health related challenges. So whether it's the city of Houston or one of our other cities, we can work with them. Whether it's on a right-of-way that might be TxDOT, we can work with them. If it's in truly unincorporated Harris County, call us, because we can get our public health team on it as soon as possible to make sure people have the proper permitting and they've passed proper inspections, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We're all about trying to incubate local businesses, and for public health reasons, we have to follow processes and we have to be located at safe places. So I've had to call because, you're eating, so never mind. Next question. Next question, please. Yes, but call us is the bottom line. Give us the intersection, and we will, if we're not on first, we will call the person/entity that's on first, and we'll do our best to run it down.
Let's see, this is a question, farmers markets. Can farmers markets expect support and receive support from the commissioner's office? If so, in what?
Well, for example, if you want to ever use any of our spaces, that's something that's very directly within our control, and please reach out, and we'd love to explore what may be possible. So that's one way. If it's in terms of funding, the truth is probably not, to be honest. That being said, we have partnered with certain food distribution groups because of the food insecurity issues. So there might be some grant-related ways that we might be able to connect you to potential opportunities. But if it's just straight up, we need space, that's something we would love to explore, what may be possible. Personally, I love going to farmers markets, and I think it's really important, especially in our communities that may not have access to fresh produce, to take it into these communities, so we'd love to explore. So the bottom line is, call us.
Any others?
Anyone else?
And y'all can ask anything. I'm an open book, as I'm sure you've gathered.
You've touched on this some. Do you have a plan to expand mental health resources?
Yes, is the short answer. And we need your partnership, because so many of the resources are at the state level. And we would really love a bipartisan coalition team effort, because with unprecedented surpluses, to me, this isn't a partisan issue. Mental health affects everybody, and it's taking the lives of, well, people of all ages, but especially our youth. So we really could use the state's additional partnership and funding, because Texas is frankly one of the worst states in the country with regard to mental health investment and resources, beds, et cetera. I mean, pretty much any domain you look, I love Texas, but I want us to be the best at everything, and there's some things that we're very far from. So Harris County, whether it's through Harris Center or through Harris Health or through partnerships with Baylor College of Medicine, which will have mental health services for free for our youth. So if you know of anyone, take them to our Bayland Community Center. We will triangulate to the best degree possible within Harris County, and we'll do everything we can. And fundamentally, we need the state's partnership if we're ever really going to go big. But we'll do our best, and we welcome your ideas, because you all have expertise in this that I don't. So I would welcome your ideas.
Affordable housing in Precinct 4. Do you have strategies to address this?
Oh, yeah. So this countywide, we have this wonderful, some of you know her, Dr. Tao Costas. She leads our community and housing development department, and they are the ones that basically manage the federal funding that comes in for affordable housing. And so ARPA, our Federal American Rescue Plan Act dollars, which sadly 2026 is the end of that, there has been substantial investment, tens of millions of dollars in affordable housing investments. One, we just broke ground on in East Spring Branch with the Cesar Chavez Foundation. So speaking of partnerships, we're always looking for partnerships. Some, unfortunately, were in waste sites that we're not able to move forward. And so it's like the last thing we want to do is try to help people but then harm people. So I'm like, not these sites. So there's been some inherent challenges, and there's always timing challenges. That being said, if you're interested in seeing all of the affordable housing investments Harris County has made in recent history, whoever asked that question, raise your hand, and Maida can connect you. We have a housing policy person in Precinct 4 who really is a liaison with the county-wide department who's doing it. But I'm really excited because the one that we did break ground on, well, first of all, it was not on a hazardous material site, so that's always a plus. But putting sarcasm aside, they will have basically an after-school program for the youth that live there, which I'm thrilled about, and they will have a small business type of training, kind of incubator space as well. And so again, trying to bring in different services as we think of just the intersection of different opportunities and challenges. So I'm very excited about that.
That was it for the questions. Is there anything else you'd like to talk to us about?
Does anyone? Yes.
Oh, yes.
I have.
My team and I work very closely with the city of Houston, but also the city of Katy and Tomball and Waller, all our cities, because I believe we serve the same people. So where can we partner? And an example, again, is that call for partnership projects. We have many, actually, yes. So I work very closely with Mayor Whitmire. Yesterday we met and we were talking. We have $250 million of infrastructure investments in the city of Houston, just Harris County. So that's one example. There's things like that, whether the sheriff's office is in charge of unincorporated versus Houston PD or Katy PD. So there's like fundamental jurisdictional issues. So no, those will not be melded. So there's certain things that are like off the table, but then there's other things, like for example, with pet services, right? Animal welfare.
Like bark.
Exactly. There shouldn't be, oh no, I'm sorry, you live in the city, the county can't help you with this animal, right? Like we need to have no wrong door approaches where it makes sense and where we can better leverage taxpayer resources. Another example, and Mayor Whitmire and I are working on this, is the county, we've we have taken into our portfolio some of the City of Houston parks because they have even fewer resources and we have an amazing parks team. And so we had already taken several into our portfolio and we'll be taking another substantial tranche of parks because again, we're in the neighborhood anyway, we can mow and pick up trash and we can do it more frequently in a way that saves taxpayer resources. And so we're not going to charge the city, Precinct 4 is going to do that for free because we're in the area. It will cost Precinct 4, but we can absorb that cost. So we're looking for those kind of synergies. But there's some things that make sense, and then there's other things that may not be possible. So it just depends. But we are talking about whether it's forensic evidence, crime lab type of additional synergies. There's so many things the city and the county already work very closely on, but where, especially as taxpayer resources become even more limited with state revenue caps, et cetera, where can we find more synergies? And so we have a fabulous relationship, and we're always looking for those. So again, welcome the input, because, but at the same time we have 34 cities, right? So we are trying to be as fair with all of them. So, but speaking of cities and school districts and MUDs in management districts, TERS is the infrastructure. That's where most of our dollars are, or infrastructure, and we want to do things in partnership. So that's the best way. If you can start putting your thinking caps on for the next cycle of projects, that would be great.
You've talked about a lot of things that y'all are doing. Mm-hmm. Are the other county commissioners just taking notice, and are they asking questions about how you're doing things and adopting some of the ideas you and your team have come up with?
The short answer is yes, and I work very closely with all three of my commissioner partners. So yes, is the short answer. And then speaking of leverage, so Commissioner Ramsey is my neighbor of precincts, and we have infrastructure projects, not only the BBTRS tunnel study that we're both partnering and investing in, but we have roads that, we don't want to just fix it and then say, oops, sorry, now it's all messed up on your side, right? So we have numerous infrastructure projects we're working on together, which is exciting, again, to leverage taxpayer resources, economies of scale. Let's do the whole project now, as opposed to, so we work very closely together. But each of us has our own priorities and styles and systems, but I know them. I've gotten to know all three very well, and I know they're all willing to serve and listen to your feedback. So I encourage, if you may live in a different precinct or have friends in a different precinct, please reach out to Ellis, Garcia, and Ramsey.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.